Hello, so I'm going to be doing another favourite record cover today, and this time it is another Crass one, as you can tell by the circular stenciled lettering. That was ours. A feature of Crass singles, Crass record singles. Sometimes I think maybe some albums that they put out, not their ones necessarily, but the actually no, it was actually more the singles. The albums, especially the Crass ones, they would have lettering around the side there. So there's a fold out. Sometimes you get it like that. But this is, like I said, this is a fold out, and this is a I'll be following that in a minute. But this is a split 7-inch of Nagasaki Nightmare and Big A Little A. People generally focus more on Big A Little A mostly, but the front piece of the artwork is of Nagasaki Nightmare, a piece about anti-nuclear piece about the people who died in the second nuclear attack in human history of the city of Nagasaki on August 9th in 1945. So you have this as part of the artwork, part of the collage artwork is some Japanese lettering on the back, on the blurred in the background here, and some what I believe to be some burnt Japanese children with the radiation symbol over them. I don't know what was done this, because this was before the days of being able to do things on Wikipedia graphics. She could have composited it for photographically and lowered the opacity there, or this could is doing the way of doing it cheaply is actually she could have actually just cut out tissue paper and put it over, and maybe even drawn over these bits here, knowing the skill she had. But she obviously knew some kind of techniques, because it had here in white lettering the pay no more than 70p, which was a feature of anarcho punk records in that time. Of they didn't want people to be ripped off, and so they knew how much these things were to cost. They worked out how much for make a little bit of money for them, and how much to make a little bit of money for the distributors and then the shops on top, and worked out what they considered was a fair price. So that's the pay no more than history behind that. Obviously, with things like inflation, a single would cost more than 70p now to even make. So maybe even so, but this was a good system, I think. So this folds out here. The first part of the fold out. In the middle here, you have what is I think is actually a combination of a gouache painting and collage. So this burnt figure here and the mushroom cloud, they would have been photographic elements as the Japanese child, but as I've since learned, and maybe the Japanese woman, but she could be a painting as well. But all these other put in here, G. Vorcha painted them. That's the amazing feature of her artwork. She was able to actually do these brilliant, realistic looking black and white gouache paints. Not like she did a colour one, and then just made and photographed it in black and white. These were actually black and white paintings, and she was able to. She knew how to actually paint them in grayscale, which is an amazing skill to have. Especially since she's not doing it from a photograph. She has a photographs of these people, obviously, but these are ones she made herself. And so here you've got the lyrics here of Nagasaki Nightmare. No, it's not actually the lyrics. These are little articles on the subject. So actually, both of these bits here are actually their articles actually on the whole on how they feel about the whole reasoning behind the use of nuclear weapons, how they work. So bear in mind, this was like in the very early 1980s. So this was quite a feat, and this was it shows a little bit more than what you would ordinarily expect from a band. as in this is a subject, that was very dear to their hearts. It was on their minds a lot, as is an obvious in the 1980s. And so this is absolutely amazing, because they were very much they weren't just like an entertainment band. They were very much an information based band, and they instructional, and um, very trying to think of the word. They were very protest, or what you consider protest. They were an anarcho punk band, so they believed in anarchism as a valid theory, but not as a takeover by force, but as a live by example. But this is, they also believed in speaking out about things that need to be spoken out about. And this was one of them, the subject of nuclear weapons, and the people who died, basically. A lot of people died for this, and people can debate about a lot, and they will debate forever about the about what place the dropping of these bombs had about regarding the end of the war, why they were dropped, and whether they should have been or not. They'll debate to the end till forever. But this was their take on this. And here you have a photograph or a picture of some stenciling they used to do. They used to go out stenciling, so with their slogans, "Fight wars, not war," "Shorts destroy power, not people," and their logo. So they would basically go around and spray paint these all around London, usually, because they were from Essex, so it's easy for them to get to London. So anyway, so we shall open up here, and there's more artwork and discussion about what they were talking about. So, and you've got some of G. Vorch's collages of merging the Queen into the face of a Hiroshima survivor. This little one about a cruise missile being a phallic object. This thing about beans. I mean, this could have been partly due to the fact that beans were advised as something where you could something you could stock up to actually live off if the bomb went off. If you could get somewhere to hide, like a basement or something. The thing beyond that is that information would have been useless. A lot of people near enough that they would have, even if they're in the basement, they would have just been incinerated in their basements, or basically the firestorm above. If it didn't incinerate them, it would have just sucked all the oxygen out, and they would have suffocated very quickly. No, by the way, and anyone a little further out and didn't die in that way, they would have died of the radiation very if they emerged. And then there's also the fact of the whole. We wouldn't really know too much about the whole thing of nuclear winter when this came out, and then it didn't really know. And the estimates they got were actually a little bit more optimistic. So it was worked out that a full nuclear exchange between the UK, well, the UK would be involved, between NATO powers and Warsaw Pact at the time, which is basically America, allies, and Russia and their allies, would have blanketed the Earth, especially the upper northern hemisphere, for about a year. No, it's worked out that it would probably be more like about 10. So things would get very cold. Food production would pretty much stop. So places like around where I live here in the UK, we would be in sub-zero temperatures for around a decade. A lot of life would die, and basically the safest place in the world would actually probably be like Australia and New Zealand. They would be the only place that would really survive, and that would be down. And what would happen to the rest of the world would actually just make life really incredibly difficult and unbearable there as well. So wherever you go, you're screwed. This is why these should not happen. But the great artwork in this shows about it gives Um, it gives indications of what was information at the time on that came from CND about where bases were and where places that could get hit, and radiation um, information. So this is amazing. They're the only band that were doing, well, the first band to be doing this, but the only band to really be doing it in this level of detail. Um, so, and as always with these records, you've got the fun or the interesting stickering. It shows you which side is which. It only punk was not very well known for this. It was no just um, there's no just this is side A, the song, who wrote it, and all that, and the publishing information. It would have been, yeah, the punk was very good for that, of showing things, having the whole thing being part of the whole experience. Now here you've got some more pictures of the aftermath of. I'm guessing it was Nagasaki. It could have been Hiroshima as well. They may have mixed between the two. So obviously this subject was dominated um, the entire the entire record, because Big A Little A is just their discussion of what would be anarchism, or the thing, or the the institutions in place that were preventing that from becoming a reality. And I believe this actually came. This was the actual. I bought this from a record fair, but I believe this is probably the original pressing. I don't know if they actually really put this reissued these much. This is why they pay no more than 70p and not like £1.40 or something. So of course you've got the information of. So you do finally hear of the lyrics on the back. You do have the information who was involved in it, and G actually, as well as being making the record cover, she actually played flute on it as well. So yeah, it says here artwork and design by Crass at Existential Press. It was really G. The cover article was written by a guy called Mark Holderness, and said thanks to the various organisations that helped us get material together: CND, Bristol Anti-Nuclear Group, Peace News, and Time Out. And what was always interesting was they have their catalogue numbering situation. So they had it was this was came out. I know how I know this came out in 1981 is because of the numbering system. So you got no, how it came out in 1980. Sorry, you got the number system, because it says here number system is 42 1984/5. So this is actually the fifth record that was put out in the fourth year before until 1984. So they counted down to that, and they did actually break up in 1984, but that wasn't they didn't really think about what they would have. It wasn't actually planned. Right, we're going to end in 1984. They quit because they broke up partly because their rhythm guitarist on the way back from the gig said he didn't want to do it anymore, and the rest of them were thinking, well, yeah, they were thinking of saying that as well. So it kind of fell apart anyway. It was very intense, those 6 years that they operated and living in that same house together. And eventually people drifted away to the point where it was for a long while just Penny, G, and Steve. And then Steve eventually left, and then they ended up having to buy the Penny and G ended up having to buy Dial House. But Penny and G lived there for years, especially Penny, lived there for years anyway. He was and they were renting this property from the post office, and it was meant to be a drop-in centre, and where the band lived communally, but it was mostly a drop-in. When it became a band, they lived communally. It became a drop-in centre and an arts, a place where people could just come in, practice their art, and go. Or people just pop in for a cup of tea, that kind of thing. I did that with a lot of some punks that came to visit, and they've put art workshops on since. So they did stuff before this. They were partly to do with the Stonehenge Festival, and they've done stuff after it. But obviously, the band is the thing that that place is always going to be known most for. So, and this is back in the days when anarcho punk bands were mostly, punk bands like this were mostly doing records in black and white. For one thing, it was cheaper to produce it like this, and then conflicts with the first band to do a colour. First anarcho punk band to do a full colour record cover. But this is very, as was always with the ones of this time, they were very immaculately and brilliantly laid out. And bear in mind, this was done since it was done in 1980. There would be no computer artwork involved. They would have. This was obviously easier to do. It was like typed out and then stuck together before it was photographed. Her artwork would have been photographed and the plate would have put on. So this, how this worked out, how they printed it, they would have probably what I did, because when I did a zine and before I had a computer and I did it all on an electric typewriter, what I did was, see the size of the type here is typewriters usually type twice as big as this. So what I would do is I would have done is I would have typed it out when I laid up my page, and then I would have photographed it, photocopied it down 50% smaller, and then I would eventually then I would have put the pages together, put the pages in order. So this is possibly what they've done here. And so, yeah, these are easier to do. It's like on a white background. What would have been harder, they would have maybe typed this and then made it inverted it maybe. So since this is black background, these white things here, they could have even just like typed it onto here and inverted it after the photographic process. So I do not know how they did this, but it's very it would have taken a great deal of skill to put something like this together, especially with the budget they had. They sold a lot of records, and but they kept their budget low and they kept their living costs low, and so they were able to put out stuff for other bands and keep some money aside for certain things they needed to do. So yeah, so let me know what you think of this. This is, like I said, this is very well put together. This is the original record, so it's a little worn. It's in good condition for something that's as old as it is. This will be 44 years old now, so around there, or almost 44 years old. If it's the 5th record of the year, then some months from now. But it has all the hallmarks of great Crass artwork, the G Vultures artwork. This circular thing here is like I said, a hallmark of their singles, the 7-inch they put out, not just for them but for other bands as well. They put out a lot of I mean, Captain Sensible from the Damned, his first solo release that wasn't with the Damned, wasn't the things like Happy Talk. It was actually he did actually an EP on Crass Records. And it's called This Is Your Captain Speaking, and it had a song called also The Russians Are Coming, and which is quite apt now, still, unfortunately. But so they always kept busy doing a lot of putting stuff like this and this amazing artwork. I can't say enough about Crass Records, and this is why you're going to have a lot of Crass Records in this. I will go into some more of the albums at some point, but this is because this is easy to do. Set the phone system up, set the phone up, because they're set obviously the 12 inches. They're a lot bigger than this. They'll be like that. And imagine it's okay to do the fold out here, but then still I have to move it around. Imagine what it's going to be like on when I do have found a load of my Crass Records, my albums, so they're going to be a lot of fun to stick out. So I have to do that more in the daytime when there's no one here, and I can try and get the setup so that it's higher up. Or I may just I end up holding it, and it's got a shaky camera. I have to do that on the dining room table. They'll be that big. So this is why when I did the one for Yes Sir I Will, that, and also I couldn't find the actual vinyl at the time. I just got some photographs of the actual all the bits of it. I don't know. I would like to do it with the actual record. So let me know what you think. Whether you like it or not. Like, share, and subscribe. And my description has my link tree in it, which is my merch links on my socials. and I shall speak to you soon. Oh, and of course, on YouTube you will be on, also on Spotify and whatever, and also buy the records. You can actually listen to this. So there is a you can't it's be difficult to get this actual single unless you get it from like eBay or something, or Record Fair. But if you want the CD, they did put out an album of um of all their singles called Best Before 1984, and this one will be on both versions of that. The classical collection ones and the original one. The classical collection one, I believe it doesn't have "Do They Owe Us a Living" on it as the first track, which is strange. But yeah, so this is on there. The classical collection one, though, I think this one might be, because it has some of their singles artwork reproduced, but in CD form, so it's like a size, so it's like about that big. So I could have actually pulled that out, but it's really difficult to read. I think it's more for weirdos like me that like to look, collect and this kind of stuff. And you can get, they did a limited edition of a flash drive which has all the music on and apparently all the artwork, and that was, I think it was something ridiculous like £40 or something, which is an amazing price for something like that. Consider how many albums they put out, how many singles they put out, and how much artwork there would be on there. And that was a limited edition, and so I think there's still some of those out for sale knocking around. So let me know what you, like I said. So I shall let me know what you think, and I shall speak to you soon. Thank you.